Thanks for joining us from Cairo, which is a long way from where most of us are. And so many changes in the world, so many changes in your life, a new genre you're writing in, fiction now, giving it a try. And I'm just, we're thrilled to welcome folks to this event and to introduce not just your new book, but your new genre of writing. And so with that, live from Cairo, it's Maged Zaher.
Yay!
Okay, so it's my turn now, Phil?
Here it is your turn.
Okay.
Everybody's here.
Perfect. So I will thank you guys for coming. Everybody I know everybody in attendance. That warms my heart and makes me feel like it's a very safe thing to do. I will read you three sections. That was meant to be. I always loved the genre of romantic comedies, and that was meant to be in the genre or in the tradition of romantic comedies. A small twist. So, except like I'll say that twist at the end. I asked friends to critique the book, and my friend Mira today said like, "Oh, why did you have the word on? It should have been confused love and other damages." I was like, "Okay, you have a point." So that's a book that is criticized on the beginning, like literally the title, the beginning of it. So I will start. The beginning is from page 15, 18. There is some serious things that I wanted to, two things I mentioned in the beginning. This is a book about incompletions, incomplete jobs, incomplete loves, incomplete revolutions, and naturally incomplete books. Also, this book has a start. It's really extremely, because I'm not a fiction writer and I cannot show. So it starts with tell, do not show. So that's why the book is short, because it tells. It doesn't like elaborate just to say something about someone. It all started in a regular one-on-one meeting. His boss told him, "It's time for us to go separate ways. It's not your performance, but there used to be this look in your eyes, and it's not there anymore." The heavily romantic language he was fired with was beautiful. Sitting across from his boss, Ramy was not sure what to feel. He was always not sure what to feel. But getting fired for the first time in his life opened up a new territory for him to be not sure what to feel about. We can say it broadened his uncertainty horizon. He was grateful for that. The boss strangely started tearing up, as if he was the one being fired. Ramy calmed him, told him, "It's okay to fire me. This is life." Well, to be exact, Ramy said, "C'est la vie." 5 months later, getting the news that the software department is not doing well after he left, Ramy texted his boss, "Did you fuck it up, you idiot?" Only to feel bad and send a retraction 1 minute later. "Sorry, I meant racist idiot." The boss and Ramy discussed the layoff, a more polite way to say firing. Specifically, what tasks Ramy needed to finish before leaving. The boss informed Ramy that he was to meet Jean, the vice president of human resources, to learn about the details of firing and severance package, and he would get for surviving for 7 years in Duval Media. "I'm flying to Austin tomorrow and will meet with Jean when I'm back on Monday." This was the way Ramy was able to restore some of his dignity. mentioning that he's flying to Austin to perform in a poetry reading and to meet Leah, the woman he had daydreamed about since he met her in Seattle at the Modern Language Association MLA conference. Ramy left B's office and stepped out of the building to take a walk through Seattle Chinatown. He went to Wajimaya, bought an expensive unfiltered sake bottle, and sat on a street bench, sipping its white milk while not feeling and not thinking something. His meditation while not feeling and not thinking. Something his meditation teacher would have been very proud of him for. The time goes backward in the novella to 2011 during the MLA conference. Ramy is attending with his friend Amina, and they meet. Amina meets her friend Daniel, an Arab scholar, and Daniel knows two friends. They're all now, after the first day in MLA, sitting in the bistro in Pike Place Market. And we'll take it from there. Two PhD students on the brink of graduation, i.e. job seekers, which is the lowest rank in the MLA circus hierarchy, joined the table, Rana and Leah. They were friends of Daniel, and they were finishing their doctorates from UC Berkeley. Both Rana and Leah are tall. Both were in tight jeans and leather boots. Rana, dark-skinned with dark eyes and past words. Leah, fair-skinned, blue eyes, and she uttered her words after thinking through them. Ramy, despite his ambivalence about academia, was always fascinated by scholars. The ability of one person to give years of their lives to chase one topic to its end. So when Leah sat next to him, he asked her about her research area. She was studying Soviet literature, using de Saussure as her theoretical foundation. Given the events of the day, Ramy was slightly suspicious of yet another American studying the East. He was cautious enough to keep his suspicion hanging while letting himself accept his attraction to Leah's blue eyes and the way she stuttered her words. Ramy and Leah found themselves discussing some of the obscure poets of the Soviet Union. She knew these poets because of her scholarly work, and she fell in love with them. He knew these poets because he read them as a teenager in the 80s in cheap Arabic translations subsidized by the Soviets, and he fell in love with them. They marveled at Chingiz Aitmatov, Rasul Gamzatov, and socialist realism. The group left for the hotels. Ramy and Leah took a couple of steps back and walked next to each other, feeling nostalgic to parts of their lives. To Aitmatov and to Gamzatov, they were both grateful to each other and to their unexpected conversation in Seattle's downtown midnight streets. On Sunday, at the book fair of the MLA, Ramy, carrying a large pile of books, ran into Leah. She was in her cowboy boots again. They said hi and talked about remaining in touch. And as she was leaving, he felt a wave of sadness overtaking his body. A few months after the Seattle meeting, Ramy saw Leah again in Los Angeles. He read exhausted short poems in a poetry reading run by his friend Andrew McCann. Ramy called these poems Tanakas. He was scared of calling them exhausted poems. Observing Leah's non-linear thoughts accumulating at the corner of a bar they went to after the reading, and her stuttering when looking for the exact right word, Ramy felt a return to the sadness he felt seeing her leaving the book fair in Seattle a few months earlier. Leah told him She's from Texas, and her name in the Old Testament meant the wandering one, which she said was true as she was obsessed with traveling. Ramy viewed traveling as a privilege for the few, and he breathed better, noticing that Leah never bragged about that. They walked together in the LA winter evening. Andrew and a few others were steps ahead of them. When they passed by a synagogue, Leah commented, "My mom, a Baptist, is the best Jew I know." She was giddy. And they talked about books again. And she told him, "My favorite book ever is Malik Haddad, de Frère in Ghazal." And they decided to translate it together to English. Leah, at the end of the night, cryptically said, "You live there, and I live nowhere." Later, he would email her, "I think I love you," which she responded to with, "I think I love you too." Yet later still, way later, Ramy would feel that Leah is everywhere in the world except wherever he is. Ramy approached each sexual encounter as a last meal. Worse, as a last meal that might be taken away if he did anything wrong. So he ended up being a generous and a satisfactory lover. Ramy uttered Leah's name to himself all the time. The letter L, or lam in Arabic, is a luminous letter, said Ibn Arabi. He also said something like, "The lamb is a divine secret. It's one of the letters that make Allah's name. Its nature is warmth and cold and dryness. Its biggest constituent is fire. Its least constituent is dust. The lamb is a lovely and estranged letter." So the story goes as Leah doesn't show up in Austin, so he's getting double two problems at the same time, getting fired, and the woman he thinks he loves and she thinks she loves him doesn't show up. He has time at his hands, so he decided to spend it in Cairo because it's cheaper. Anyway, so he goes to Cairo, and let's see what will happen in Cairo. Ramy first met Lamia at a party in his friend's Dahlia, where there was some lunar event that Ramy didn't care about. He was there for the alcohol and the possibilities. The moon didn't do what it was supposed to do. But at the end of the night, Lamia aggressively asked for his phone number, and they went for a boat ride on the Nile, and they talked, and he kissed her on the dark Cairo street, and she yelled, "I wish you were living here." Lamia, as it turned out, was a celebrity. She was a famous Lebanese journalist who had been working in Egypt for a few years by then. She was known for her professional, well-researched, yet passionate articles, and was a frequent guest on different TV channels. In handwritten, Ramy, when a young teenager in Cairo, read Nizar Qabbani. This is the full Nizar Qabbani collected works. I didn't read him in collected works. I was too poor to buy collected works. Now I bought the collected works, but I can't read it because I don't have the energy. Anyway, he is one of the important love poets in the Arab world. Very important. Ramy, when a young teenager in Cairo, read Nizar Qabbani, his poems about Beirut and Beirutean women. He also saw lovers walk on the Nile holding hands. So with Lamia being on a boat on the Nile was the collapse of two desperate dreams of love into one, a Beirutean woman on the Nile. Who said cliches don't bring happiness? 2 months before the boat ride with Lamia, Leah was wandering Budapest, and being a Marxist, she was naturally in some protest against one of these injustices that fill the earth. Ramy sent her, "I think I'm still in love with you," again. To which she, with her Marxist tendency of equity, replied, "I think I'm still in love with you too." That was supposed to be funny. Lamia and Ramy agreed to spend the day together. He visited her apartment carrying the most expensive flowers he ever bought. She opened the door in her nightie, gave him a quick kiss, and continued her phone call with her editor. They were negotiating and gossiping. She waved Ramy to the kitchen and pointed, "Tea or coffee?" He chose a tea and proceeded with kissing her neck from behind so as not to interrupt the simultaneous phone call and tea making. There's a lovely picture of the man himself.
Lovely.
In her balcony that oversees the Nile, they sipped tea and talked about the Egyptian revolution and its aftermath. Ramy might have been a middle-class executive in the US, but in Egypt, he was always a poor kid. It wasn't a matter of money. It was a matter of emotions and power structure. Being in an apartment that overlooks the Nile with a woman who is so connected to the powerful elite of the country wasn't something he would have ever dreamt of when he lived in Cairo 20 years earlier. He was now soaking his class mobility with a bit of his old sense of inferiority. Lamia and Ramy went to pick up Jamila, Lamia's daughter from her second marriage, from school, to take her phone shopping. Jamila didn't like any of the phone, so they gave up and went for dinner instead. Jamila was not happy that she had to go visit her Moroccan dad in Paris. Lamia was very confusing to Jamila. She would advise against the visit, yet argue for it. Ramy, armed with good skills from years of undergoing a useless talk therapy in Seattle, asked Lamia to give Jamila a chance to talk. He asked Jamila a few open-ended questions so she could process her feelings and needs at ease, and kept blocking Lamia's interruptions of her daughter. Back on Lamia's balcony, she told him how much she liked how he acted with Jamila. She also said, "If you asked me there in the restaurant to marry you, I would have accepted," and started to unzip him. They engaged in physically complex yet delicious sex. At 3:22 a.m., he received a text message from Lamia that canceled the appointment the next day. At noon, he received another text message from her saying that she had a message from God that they shouldn't be together. The Lebanese non-practicing Muslim, who was also an active Marxist in the Lebanese Communist Party in her youth, was in direct contact with the Almighty, and he, Ramy, the Copt, wasn't. He was now hit both romantically and spiritually by one text message.
Oh.
Does love overlap? Do you ever love more than one person, or are all emotions directed to an archetype? He thought to himself that all the women he fell in love with lately seem to have names that start with L. Leah as a wandering Jew, Lamia as a non-practicing Muslim, both Marxists, and he a Copt with a name that's a 6 steps behind in the alphabet, became acutely aware of his inadequacy. He went to Lamia's house to talk. She wasn't interested anymore. The message from God actually came in the shape of a call from a Parisian ex-boyfriend. Well, historical materialism was still alive, thank God. Instead of backing up quickly, he indulged his humiliation and kneeled to kiss her feet. She told him, "Don't torture yourself." He didn't like the advice, so he stood up and left for a nearby pub to drink and torture himself without distractions. I'll stop here, guys.
That was so beautiful. I like it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's very touching.
Thanks.
So there is a room for questions right now.
Yeah.
So I have something to say because I wanted to ask you if you, when you were building the characters, when you were building the stories, did you rely on psychoanalytic tools like the ones of Freud and Jung in a way or another? Because I felt there is a touch of Freudo-Marxism within the novel, and the usage of symbolism and archetypes within Jungian psychoanalysis within the novel. I thought this was very
not
interesting.
at all. Not at all. Not at all. I just wanted to write a romantic comedy with the twist that the romantic comedies, there's a happy ending, and in this one there's a continuous form of bad endings.
Nice.
That's it.
You never cease to amaze me. That's lovely.
Thank you.
I have a question, Maged, please. I mean, شو
Yes, yeah.
صار the punch, but how much of it is autobiographical, but autobiographical? Is that a word? And how much of it
Autobiographical,
is
yes. How much of it is autobiographical?
and how much of it is fiction?
Let's why does this matter? It's fiction. And here is the deal. Everything a person writes is autobiographical, but not autobiographical as in the details that this actually happened. They met Jamila and they took her like phone shopping. No, that's not. That's not it. But it's autobiographical in the sense that's a deep representation of what I feel or I think, and a possibility of a representation of events happened by actual humans, but by humans. That like the question is the boss crying? Is this believable? Whether there was an actual boss crying or not is irrelevant. I really believe that it's completely irrelevant. Of course, like when you are posing a book like that, you say like it is. You clean it from the possibility of autobiographical. But reality is the human feels what the human. When you read the book, it's naked for sure. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't and definitely there are things that are unbelievable. There are also things that are jokes, like in the middle. It's like to answer like, oh, I think I love you. Okay, that can happen. But then to say like, I still think I love you, I still think I love you too, that's a joke. It can't happen. That's insane. That can't be autobiographical. It is a joke to assert this like fake Marxism, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, completely understand.
It is autobiographical. Physically, you have to figure for yourself if these characters are believable or not. Make sense?
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you, Maged.
Maged, this is Dan. I just wanted to comment on a paragraph that you did not read that I thought was wonderful, and I'm still working through it. This is on page 21. It maybe gives me a little insight, because I know you and I have talked about poetry and how I feel like I am not a good poetry reader because I don't understand it. But this maybe helps me understand a little bit. Where he says, later, Ramy would think of poets as mere technicians of language, just people who do the maintenance and repairs and upgrades needed to keep language alive. Since engineers and politicians and business people seem to continuously use language in a way that causes significant wear and tear, which I just think is a fantastic sentence.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Yes. There are two of at least one book I wrote. Thank you for the window office is fundamentally written with HR language, with all of this. And I thought seriously, I was going crazy. I thought like my mission is like, if these people are gonna do that, gonna lie like that, I'll take the same words they use and put it in a context that's extremely honest. There's nothing I have seen more lying and deceiving than the language human resources use. Nothing. The politicians don't even come fucking close. And I was in Microsoft then. I was like, this is not working.
They call it corpus speak, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for me it was horrible, and I figured like I gave myself the task. Literally, it was the first time since I was born, people give me tasks. I work in a job, they give me tasks, I do it. The first time, the closest possible I gave myself a task was to take this language and put it in a more honest context. And that was the result of the thank you for the window office and some of the poems in Portrait of the Poet as an Engineer. Anyway, sorry for getting animated here. It doesn't really, I'm so happy that I cannot work anymore because of my inability to concentrate. When I was in corporate America, once you get passionate, everybody just everybody's like, oh, you are getting animated. And and it's just very strange. Very, very strange. It's like, yes, we should be passionate about the stuff we're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. You can calm me down. That's fine. I should calm down. But don't be scared. I'm peaceful. You guys know me for a few years.
So,
can I ask a question?
Yes. Who's this?
John Phillips.
Hi, John.
I haven't got all the book yet, so I'm not asking from having read the book. But I was wondering what you enjoyed about writing prose as compared to when you write poetry. What did the prose sort of offer you that poetry offers you something different?
Okay. Enjoy it or offered? Let me answer both.
Enjoy. Yeah, answer both.
Yes. I hated it, man. Every minute. So fucking painful. I can't tell you. It was like biting rocks. Just to plan it and to just like insert papers in the middle of the middle and then like throw like half of it away and everything. So it was very painful because there was lots of engineering in it, lots of structures. You write a lot and you throw a lot, and then so the editing, the writing was difficult. There are few lines in the middle that are like biting lines that I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing, total fun. But what Rose gave me is poetry can't do what prose can do at times. Poetry does its own thing.
Yeah.
But prose just like what is written here is the stuff I can't do in poetry. It is you can structure things, you can write paragraphs to describe easily. What I am doing right now is a book that has sections that almost fiction, and then sections that are poems, and like mixing them, but not mixing them to do anything tragic or like anything. so complex, entangled, multiple media or anything like that. I'm just trying to study causality. It's like, this is what happened in life, and this was a poem that written based on what happened. So let us discuss causality. But anyway, still to write a book that coheres. And here the movement in time was very fascinating to do. It happened. I wasn't planning it. It just happened. I said to write some things and I wanted to write about something else that happened before. So anyway, the structure prose offers is something that sadly I can say poetry cannot do. I'm mainly a poet, and to say a negative thing about poetry just like will make me like hand back the membership card, but it's a fact. So the prose is beautiful, but when it's done shortly, like there's also something I can't believe also the size of the novels that people produce nowadays. Like it's so big. It's just like I can't read for me like anything. But why write 500 pages? Like the Brother Karamazov is already written. So I if I would ever have the energy again and I will write the same size. I like the novella. It is controllable. It is inviting. It's people just like.
It's digestible.
Yeah, it's digestible, and it is like and it is and it invites people to come. Let's have fun together. So anyway, did I answer it? But
yes,
in the writing process, it's not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable at all. If you're going for the fun of it, don't do it.
Okay, I'll put any plans for a novella away then. Okay, but I'm keen on reading it. I must admit, I'm keen on reading it.
I hope you like it.
Oh,
I can send you a PDF. Forget that the publisher is here.
So Maged, years ago when we were working on your collected poems, you told me that poetry was the one thing in your life that represented truth. It was the only truthful thing in your life. And I'm curious, do you have that same experience with prose, or is it fundamentally different somehow?
Actually, what I read is like it was a poem that I wrote in the back of the collected poems, as like poetry is the only thing I do to feel free, not truth, to feel free. That's what I wrote, because it was so yes, actually I was very free writing this prose, very free, except from the form itself. The form is tighter, is not tighter. It has its own constraints. So I was very free writing and enjoying it, but there was composing things in a non-linear form, or like where time is moving in a specific way. You question what is the concept of time, how you're gonna order the events. You do things like that. That was a tight constraint. In poetry, there is no much constraint. There's more freedom. But the freedom I meant when we were composing, when we are doing the collected poems, was that I choose to do that. Nobody's forcing me to do it. And there is a sense of like, I can put a word next to a word next to a word. Of course, freedom is a bit fictitious in the sense that like, I'm made of what I'm made of. And if I am like complaining about like the corporations and the oppressions they cause, is still within me. And when I'm putting a word next to a word next to a word, that's based also on what have been imposed on me. But yet still, it was the most freedom I could have reached. And yes, so prose also was extremely exquisite.
You, hi, Maged. This is David. Can you hear me?
Hi, David. Yeah.
Hey, peace to you. I'm wondering. I wanted to chase that a little bit more. Do you think that that the audience, the sense of who's reading it as you write it, you know, that who you have to speak to, changes in prose as opposed to poetry? Just wondering if I mean, because when we write, we also always read. You know, there's always an imagined reader, whereas we are always reading. And I just wondered if that was another way to think about that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yes, that's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So let me say it this way. Theoretically, there isn't a difference between the readers of the poems I write and the prose in the following sense. I assume anybody with rudimentary level of education who can just read a line can read my poems. I'm not doing anything very, very funky going on here. And the same in the novella, except that the novella was meant to reach a wider audience because people get scared from the word poetry. So they just get scared. They don't read it, even if it is not meant to scare anybody. Even if like someone with a high school degree would just completely enjoy or hate or like but have a serious interaction with the poetry books. But this was meant, and with the Seattle specification, with how small the book and inviting, is wanted to be read by the corporate people in Seattle and other places, but mainly in Seattle. So I'm hoping there's like about 5,000 people who will go enter the store or whatever. It's like, oh, that's a book about corporations and love and blah blah blah. So there will be people who will read it, who would just like because of the marketing. But that is the marketing. But put everything aside. Both I am the same person. The novella and the poetry books are geared toward everybody. I know there is no. It's really straightforward. There's nothing here that is. There's nothing here that's funky. There's nothing here that is pretentious. Maybe a line or two, like when I say like historical materialism is alive. Oh, okay, I'm being pretentious here a little bit, but that's about it. Everything else is doable, readable.
Nice.
Should be fun, and more important is actually the most important in the novella, which is it should speak to people who worked in corporations about the corruption they encountered, the abuse they left, and how there is a possibility of an escape from it. Make sense?
Yes, please. That was thanks. Yeah, great.
Hi, Maged. It's
Hi. Hi,
Amor.
Amor.
It's beautiful to be here and it's beautiful to hear you. I just wanted to ask, how was it for you creating this world of mixed cultures and mixed nationalities interacting together? I imagine you sitting down and just putting people together from different backgrounds. So I was just wondering how it was for you, because I think, like Sora said, goofing around, maybe.
There is I am not sure how serious I was doing this thing. I think I was serious, but then while I was serious, I was joking, like the boss crying. It's crazy. And the guy telling him like, it's okay, c'est la vie. This is just completely bogus. And to discuss like the Soviet literature with someone who's finishing their PhD and finding this language in common, and there was something really amazing in the story itself, the elements. And I was lucky that I met people I can compose from that. A journalist from a Lebanese background, maybe she's Syrian. It doesn't matter. At that point of time, you can just like, you can make things, you can change things a little bit, a tad bit. But I was just lucky that like, I still can't fathom how lucky I was, how lucky I am that I met people from all these backgrounds, from different backgrounds, that I can compose such a novella while the stereotypes, the archetypes, bits and pieces are in my mind. So it was, again, it was very enjoyable, yet very painful. That thing took about 2.5 years to finish like about 60 pages. 2.5 years.
Wow.
It went up to about 110 pages or something like that. But then I had to cut a lot just to make it make sense. And I'm very grateful and I'm very lucky to have felt my dear friend and my dear publisher to believe in it and to put it out. Not many people will put a 70-page thing out and risk losing on it. But Phil and I worked before together, and he pitched to me his idea of doing collected works and my collected poems, and I was like, who am I to do a collected poems? Leave me alone, Phil. I'm nobody. I'm nobody. And he was like, no, just do it. And here it is. Here it is. He sent it to me here, and it's keeping me good company. And it makes perfect sense. When I read it, I know myself more. So Phil, thank you. So yes, Amar, that it was so enjoyable, and it was so hard because it wasn't my natural genre. I write poems like that. Sometimes I feel like I can't really post a poem. It took it took 10 minutes. It took 10 minutes to write a poem. Like I can't post it on Facebook. That feels like cheating.
Yeah.
This thing made me pay the price, 2.5 years to compose these lines. And so walking outside of your genre would make you pay. So so that was it. And anyway, thank you, Phil. Thanks so much, man. Thank you. I really appreciate what you have done for me.
I think it feels like a collage of different walks of life. It's very beautifully put. So thank you, Maged.
Thank you.
Well, if nobody else has any other questions, I do. So are you thinking of, I know it was hard and it took a long time. Are you thinking of writing any more prose?
I don't think I have a choice but to do so.
Nice.
Like after I will finish the current poetry book I'm working on, I think I would have already exhausted the poetry possibilities that I have.
Unlikely.
No, I'll tell you what I mean. Like the book I came the last book, the Shadow That Doesn't Leave the Shirt, is kind of like the best book I've ever did, and it is. I don't think I can and it has the signature of like fragmented lyrics. I don't think I'm gonna exceed that. It's not gonna happen. I'm 100% positive I'm not gonna exceed that. I will just write similar stuff and things like that. And you really it's nice to do what you know how to do, and there's like years for that. But there is sometimes this desire to do something different. So I'm doing something different now, which is an exploration into causality, which is like, okay, I'll tell you guys what I'm doing right now. I'm enjoying like this. Like, so I decided to do something that I've always wanted to do, which is like a perverted book, more like go back to the poems that I wrote in the Thank You for the Window Office, and there's like a book that has like tackles sex and intimacy and kinkiness and perversion and stuff like that. Not for any reason because that is itself is important. It's not an erotic book by any means. But what I will do, I remember being a kid and reading parts of the Bible, specifically David and stuff like that. And these parts like messing with me because it has to do with power and sex and stuff like that. So I will take the first section of the book that I'm doing now is a section from the Bible. And then I'll take the second section, flat, of course, a little longer, is sections of reality, like serious, difficult things that happened in reality, and somebody called it obscene, that's fine, whatever it is. So that's a section of like about 10, 18 pages. And then the third section is a section of poems written a la typical poems I write, which is fragmented lyrics. So that would be a longer section, it's about 40 pages or something. So my idea is like this stuff happened, reading this material, early material for biblical material, and other stuff like it. So a person's mind got disturbed, so these things happened after. And then this person wrote poems based on what happened. Can you gather any causality or it's not there? So this is, I think, I'm excited about this book because I'm annoying you guys about it right now. But I think after this book is done, I think it has to be back to prose. So that's it. That's what I think. I don't think I have another choice for that. I'll keep writing fragmented lyrics because this is in my blood and because I have to entertain my Facebook friends. But other than that there will be prose.
Any other questions from anybody?
I don't have a question. I just want to say hi, Maged. It's
Hi.
Eleni. Hi.
Hi, Eleni. How are you?
I'm fine. It makes me so happy to see you and to listen to you.
Yeah.
It is so good to see you.
So it makes me so
Hi,
happy.
David.
Yeah.
And I agree with you about prose. It's really fucking hard. But your
Isn't
prose
it?
is great. So it paid off. It's great.
Yes.
So, Maged, can you take a minute and tell us a little bit about life in Cairo and the
Yeah.
things that are the same and the things that are different? Just share with us a little bit about your life there.
I'll tell you something. The problem in what I'm going to tell you, it annoys me to say the same metaphor over and over, but I was just telling this metaphor to my friends. I was saying, like, people just always ask me, why did you get back? Why did you come back? Because everybody just want to leave me. Everybody want to go to America. So it was like, well, what's wrong with you? Why did you come back? I said, okay, guys, I've been hit hard by bipolar disorder, and I just lost my ability to focus, to concentrate, to work, to anything. So it's really expensive in America. So I just said, like, I will come back to Egypt and see what I can do. And I just keep thinking, there is something I have done. I live in an apartment now in a neighborhood that's slightly in the well-to-do neighborhood, used to be the well-to-do neighborhood, and I lived downtown Egypt growing up. So my life, when I couldn't really go anywhere but the apartment that was where I was raised. And I remember just like almost like leaving immediately in the morning and walking the streets that I loved the most, or I lived in the most in Cairo, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it just hit me that like what I'm really doing might be somehow is reconnecting the dots that was erased by immigrating for 25 years.
Okay.
So in a way, I'm back in my hometown. It's a disaster, and I'm not really connecting with it as typical if I was lived in it. But I think of my life as like I have two cities, Seattle and Cairo. I talk about schizophrenic life.
Yeah.
Like Seattle was like, where you stop like about 10 feet so that you can cross the street, and then they wave to you as if like you long lost relative. In Cairo, they will just hit you. So anyway, to get I feel like how I am privileged and how I'm lucky to have had to be able to live in these two places. It's how different, and I belong to both. Like I belong to both. There's no this is home and Seattle was no. Seattle was my home country. There is a very fair chance that Seattle is more home than Cairo. Except that like when you are growing up, the things that happen to you early on have a larger effect on you than when you leave. So that's it. So that's why home is home. It's not because of any like national or any privilege or any fanaticism like that. Not at all. Not at all. I have like the two places are beautiful for me. Two places I'm honored to have been part of. But there are certain things that happen when you are young, binds you to this place more. I'm still would live in Seattle in a heartbeat, like that. If I can afford living in Seattle, I'll live in Seattle. I love the city. I love every piece of it. I love Pioneer Square. Love Pike Place Market. I love how people are passive aggressive. I am passive aggressive.
God.
So it's really like, so imagine a passive aggressive person living in Cairo, Phil. How hell that is. So it's really sad. So anyway, so my life in Cairo is sad because I'm avoiding living in Cairo. I am a metaphysical poet. I don't mingle. I mingle with few friends, but I don't really mingle in Cairo. I just limited because I'm a passive aggressive Seattleite who will be eaten alive in Cairo if he extended his hand here. Am I making sense?
Thanks, Maged.
Hi, Maged.
Hi,
hi, it's Annette in Seattle. You know, I'm supposed to be in Cairo at the end of November. You're not making me really feel comfortable about that.
No. Paris, you're welcome to come.
Yeah.
And I will show you around. What I am saying is about my own experience
Oh, okay.
in emotional in emotional Seattle versus emotional Cairo. Cairo itself is as safe as it could get. You just have to really be aware of the cars when you're crossing the streets. That's the only thing I'll tell you.
Well,
Other
Seattle,
than,
you do too.
not yet. You don't understand. Our relationship to the cars are more intimate. We touch cars when we are crossing the street.
Yeah.
That's all of it. Everything else is fantastic. Fine.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it. Hopefully I get my time off and I might see you then.
Yeah, I will see you for sure. I'll show you some of the typical things like say the Islamic Cairo and the Coptic Cairo and stuff like that.
Yeah. If I get it, I'll let you know. But yep.
Perfect.
I've planned it 3 times. Damn it better work this time. So yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, more questions, please.
Any.
I just wanted to, this is Molly with Chatwin Books, pop on and say, I put in the chat, anyone who's interested in getting a copy of the novella for themselves, the link to purchase is in the chat. It's also available on our website, chatwinbooks.com. So just wanted to say that's there because I've received a few messages about it. And thank you for joining this morning as well.
Thank you, Maged. All the love.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Karen.
What a delight.
Thanks, Ahmed. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, Maged, I really appreciate you just, I mean, it's so mind-blowing. You know, the past 3 years have been a little bit crazy. But one of the few things that it's brought us is, you know, are these video tools where we can be with you halfway across the world and celebrate the, you know, the publication of your new book, and it feels, you know, make us miss your face a little bit less because, you know, we have missed you. And anyway,
yes.
Well, thanks so much everybody for joining us, and Maged, just.
Yay!
Thank you. I'm sorry you got the book.
That's fun.
Yes.
And you too, Ahmed. You will get a copy too. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.